got the juice now, man.
Yeah. They jump on the mic smooth as well. It's a lyrical sound to the geezer.
Hi, welcome to OK Blue Chews. It's the middle of the night. It's only midnight. Exactly. Oh, hey, happy midnight.
That's cute.
Yeah, this was me talking earlier. Hi, welcome to OK Blue Chews. I'm really glad you guys were liking the videos. I actually had a different video planned for today, but this one was kind of on my brain a little more. And I feel like it's a topic that it won't go away, and I don't know why.
I am worried.
And it's about TRADWIFEs.
Just to be with you forever.
No one heard that. Yeah. I hope no one heard that. Cause if no one heard that, yeah. I hope no one heard that.
The next time you see a TRADWIFE on the internet, don't harass anybody, but ask yourself, who gets the money from these videos?
I don't want to talk about it.
Especially the big ones, like, who gets the money from these videos? Does the money that you earn from social media or any of these brand sponsorships that always are on those pages, do they go straight into your husband's account? Or do they like go to your account? Especially the ones that be like overly aggressively talking at the camera, talking about how you are here purely to be serving that husband, the fact that you shouldn't be doing that and he takes care of the house. I'm like, okay, so who is getting the money from this video?
No off-topic question.
Whose name is on the account?
That's an off-topic question.
Who's getting the money from your social media engagements? Homemaking, right? It didn't get to be called, or didn't get to get fought for as real work until white women had to do it. And every time we have these conversations about women and working, there's always this conversation around women weren't allowed to work, and one that's classist. Working class women or people who are just in general poor or whatever, even in random ass England where people just lived in the mud or whatever.
Who's that then? I don't know. Must be a king. Why? He hasn't got shit all over him.
The women still had to work, the children worked, the dog worked, everybody worked. Like, historians have told us time and time again that it was more complicated than that. Certain women have always been at work. The working class woman has always been at work. And there's like a lot of covert classism, especially in America, where people with long money, you have this skewed version of reality. And I think that bleeds into the internet without people realizing it. Like, the biggest one that everyone loops into TRADWIFing is Ballerina Farms, and that girl had a whole career. That's why people are so sad for her. Just leave that girl alone. Like, she ain't gonna leave nothing until she wants to leave. So just leave her alone. Stop talking about the girl. Leave her over there on that farm making that toxic milk.
Jesus, gross.
The whole TRADWIFE thing, it screams once again like classism. People who are upper class or want to be called upper class, basically trying to impress like fake moralistic beliefs on everybody.
Not only do I despise your wicked ways and your total disregard for human life, but you have no fashion sense.
When we talk about women and work in America, to ignore all the other women and only think about white women, and then call something traditional when it's really just neoclassic. TRADWIFE is very much so a blanket statement now for, I think, grifters on the internet.
Give me your fucking money!
I don't fully believe these women on the internet, all of them that you see, I don't believe that they're living this Susie Homemaker life that you're seeing for the video.
America My Face is saying everything that you need to know.
They jump on the mic smooth as well. It's a lyrical sound to the geezer.
I'm black.
I want to get to the topic that at hand, which was all about so-called feminism and their so-called TRADWIFes, and they're always at war with each other. It's about money, the have and the have-nots and the wannabe haves. That's what this whole TRADWIFE war really boils down to, because that's the first thing everyone thinks, and I'm not disagreeing with it. I think it actually is a valid point to recognize that there's a specific type of privilege that you have to have, that a whole house can run on one salary, and the house ain't no little itty-bitty thing. It ain't no shack in the off-grid or like a van. You're not a van life couple and you're a stay-at-home van mom.
What do you mean? You've got got a problem with my
They be in luxury apartments or some big ass house, and there's always a reason for that, because there is money behind the situation. So once again, there's a privilege behind being this trad wife, and not in a way where it's like, I am privileged to be able to do this. It's more like it's a privilege that you can live in the ignorance where you think that this is a suitable situation. Privilege is the ability to be ignorant. That is what privilege is. It's the ability to be ignorant about whatever it is at hand that we're talking about. And a lot of people think privilege just means things were handed to you on a silver platter, life was super easy. It's about the fact that there's a whole bunch of things that you did never have to concern yourself with because of your privilege. It's the ability to be ignorant. One lady, I'm debating on putting the video in here because she's actually very distraught, and I don't want to like kick a horse when it's down kind of thing, you know. So I'll just keep it to an anecdote. One lady was online sharing her story and talking about how it blew her mind. She grew up and she was living in $1 million homes, and she could spend hundreds of dollars on one piece of clothing, and she had designer bags and doing all the rich kid things. I have a very strong inkling what, you know, denomination. The fact that she never once thought about how this lifestyle was dependent on the fact that the man in her life was funding it and had to love her and do right. She's learned now life is hard, but there's the ignorance. There was an ignorance placed on her because of their belief system and probably how she was raised. But it's just the aspect, because if I make it so direct to her, we might lose the plot. And I need people to understand that this is bigger than one lady. Like, this is a very common thing that I keep hearing. People have living situations. Like, when you're growing up, you don't control your living situation. You're a child. So you grow up. But some people grow up in situations that make them more aware of how life works a lot faster than others. Sometimes it's economics. Sometimes it's societal. No, societal and economics is pretty much the same thing, but it still changes because you can have different fractions of society that are in the same economic class, right? There's that, and then there's obviously race, which people hate talking about, but that's not my problem. Get over it. And there's gender. There's sexuality. There's all these different factors in society. And when you are identifying as a certain thing, or as when people identify you as a certain thing, some things are more external than others, right? And so you might be identified as something before you get a chance to technically identify yourself as that thing, aka like race or gender. People will ascribe those things to you for you. The point is, when you are growing up in a certain way, some people have the privilege of not thinking about certain things. They have the privilege, which is the ability to be ignorant to a lot of different things. And so people who grow up into this tradwife pipeline, they're like, I would say, groomed to be ignorant in a lot of aspects about the dangers of, honestly, just living in a society where you don't have your own means to take care of yourself. Absolutely living hand to mouth through another person that is not a parent. It's already dangerous for some children to live hand to mouth with a parent. So to become a grown adult and be expected to force yourself into a situation where you're once again fully dependent on someone, it gets very dangerous to live that way for a long extended period of time. Now, I truly believe, right, as humans, we're a very interdependent species. Just like anything else, we're a codependent species on the things around us, on each other, everything. And there are times in your life where you do need to depend on somebody in your life. And if you have a partner that is a good person, you'll be able to do that with said partner. However, the way society works, if you don't, back to this again, have the means, and by means, I mean money or connections or the resources to make the money, it gets very hard to expect to live an extended and comfortable life off of someone else. To me, it's completely born in the ignorance of classism, where you watch this happen. This was just your life. You never had to think about money. It's perfectly okay to get into a relationship and have what you want your relationship to be. You lay it out with your partner. You both come to agreement. Like, I will do this, I will do that, I will do this. But to think that you know somebody so well and that you know all the things that could happen in the universe. I'm not even talking about someone who get up and leave you, because everyone's always like, he might get up and leave you. Some people will never leave you. But what if he's a drunk? What if he suddenly gets in a car crash and his back hurts and he's on drugs? You've all seen this movie. We've all seen this movie. You're a young person. You need to get your own skills. You need to gain a sense of self. Part of that sense of self can definitely be homemaking, but it cannot be all. All of you cannot be the sum of everyone else and what they need from you. That can't be it, because at some point, people aren't going to need you. People needing you is never a way to sustain your life. You yourself are going to get exhausted. That's just how, even when you're taking care of a child, they need you in different ways as they grow up. They never need you the exact same way throughout their entire life. Even somebody who doesn't have all the same development like markers as another child, they need you in different ways as they get older. It's just how humans work. As you age with this partner, they're going to need you in different ways. You might need someone in different ways. Have you thought about who's going to help you? If you are the one doing everything in the house and that's what you've agreed on, think about this. Who is going to help you? What happens if he go to work one day, slip on a banana peel and break his back? No, there's just a lot of jobs. There's a lot more flexibility that jobs could have that wouldn't put women in this predicament. But again, we live in a patriarchal society that depends on the neoclassic stereotype of what women should be doing. And it's kind of just their way to strong arm you out of the business. The whole reason why Roe versus Wade happened was because the military lady was told she either give up her baby, as in get an abortion, or she quit the army. And she was like, I'm a military person. I want to be here in the military. I shouldn't have to give up my baby or give up serving my country. Like she didn't feel like she should have to choose just because she's the person who biologically is forced to carry a baby in order for her to have the baby. Men are never asked when they're about to have a baby. No one asks him, so are you gonna stop working? Or nobody asks men that. Nobody ever asks men that. Why can't he take a break from his career? And as a matter of fact, some men get promoted. Some men get more hours at work. Some men get a pay bump because they're like, oh, we know you got a new baby, man. And fine, if you have somebody who is staying at home that you're trying to take care of, this is great news for the man who's trying to take care of his family. This is not something that should go away, but it should also be an option for women. Let people be independent. Let people have avenues to take care of themselves.
You got the juice now, man.
And another thing, I feel some type of way about when I see white women trying to break down how much Nara Smith makes from her videos. It might seem innocuous to them, and it's like part of the larger scale of them breaking down some of these big so-called TRADWIFE influencers, like breaking down just how much money they're making from projecting a certain image. But it just screams as part of a larger microaggression that a lot of black people face in real time. So even if the people don't mean it, it all balls into one ball. I didn't make these rules, all right? I just live in this world where the rules already exist. So don't blame me for bringing it up. You can't blame me for pointing at the sun and saying that it's here. You understand what I'm saying? That's not fair to me. It's not fair to you. It's not fair to the topic. The microaggression is when white people like to pocket watch. And I've heard white people talk about this. I've seen them on the internet talk about this amongst themselves. And it's like a white people thing, but it feels especially insidious when it goes outside of their own demographic. It feels especially aggressive when it's happening to a black person. They definitely do it to black people in the workspace, especially. And then on the internet, they're constantly watching our pockets. They're constantly watching for how we live our life. They want to know how you spent your money, how you got that money. That everyone pretends it's about safety, or they're doing some sort of moral due diligence, trying to figure out if you're a good or a bad person, or if you have the same kind of ideas around money as they think you should, things like that. It stems from the fact that they truly believe that black people have never had shit, shouldn't have shit. So when they see us with some shit, it triggers something in them. It triggers something deep in there. But it's one of the reasons why she did get picked, though, is because she is one of the forerunners of this grift. It's what people think of when they think of hyperfemininity, I think. It highlights this idea visually, not necessarily by what you're doing. Because people, women especially, have been on Instagram cooking meals for a very long time, and nobody was calling them a tradwife. It's about the whole visual aesthetic. There is a visual aesthetic to the tradwifing thing, and that's what makes it a grift. Because someone is marketing themselves to you as a image. That's what makes it a grift to me. Not to harp on her, but she's the biggest name out right now. And because people like her, Nara Smith. I'm not saying she's a grifter. She's in grifter territory. But I feel like she got a lot of labels attached to her, and she's not exactly shaking them off because it's part of her brand now. It is her brand now. But when she started, I could have sworn when I first started seeing her on Instagram, there was explicit mention to her being a model and her husband, Blue Jeans, or whatever his name is, being a model. Like, that was their whole thing. They were this model couple and they had these babies and they were married, blah, blah, blah. Like, she had set up her videos kind of like making it a portfolio for herself, just showing herself in movement, but she was all dolled up. She was doing hair and makeup and outfit because she's a model, and she was basically keeping her portfolio alive through social media, where it's like, you know, visuals, aesthetics are a model's lifeline. Why she chose homemaking versus anything else, maybe it just looked better. Maybe it just, to her, made more sense to get fully dolled up and stay indoors. Maybe she really wanted to showcase that she could make cornmeal from scratch. I don't know. I feel like that's how she started with the whole aesthetics situation. It was less about, I'm giving her a lot of credit and I don't know the girl, so let me just slow down. Her channel felt more portfolio-ish, and then she leaned into this homemaker thing, I guess because it got the most views, especially apparently over on TikTok, where you have more versatility, I think, on like YouTube and Instagram, but apparently you get known as the whatever person. If someone got really viral on there from trying chewing gum, suddenly you're the chewing gum lady. You know what I mean? Again, that speaks to it being a grift. It's all about optics. Everything is about optics when it comes to this situation. And it goes back to, like earlier I said, hyperfemininity, where women are expected to look a certain way while they are doing their job, even in the workspace outside of the home. Corporate women, office women, there's a look people ascribe to that person. And again, hyper feminine. Your appearance is, I think, as a woman, constantly weaponized. It's a very visual platform. People want to see a certain look. Things don't look as polished unless they look a certain way. That's why aesthetic videos are so popular. And I feel like Tradwifing is just right now another aesthetic. Is another aesthetic, and people are masking with it. So yeah, selling this aesthetic pipe dream to people, it's just weird, and it's a grift. Anyway, I wanted to end this with movie recommendations in this sphere of things. The movie is called Don't Worry, Darling, and it's about a 1950s housewife and her husband and their very picturesque life. And then one day she wakes up and she's just like, something's off, and she can't put her finger on it. But a series of things start to happen in the neighborhood, and she's just like, why is no one ever asking questions? She starts to ask questions about her lifestyle, about all the women around her and their lifestyle, about where all the men go. And she knows they go to work, but she has no idea like what he does. She wants to know about it. First Wives Club. If you haven't seen that movie, it's three wives trying to regain their sense of self and do something bigger than them. That one's very aspirational for anyone who's had to start over after a long-term partnership. That movie might feel like catharsis for you. The last one I will put here is The Women. It's been remade like 3 different times. The most recent one, I believe, is the one with Jada Pinkett and Grace from Will and Grace. I would watch both. It is very interesting just to see essentially the modern woman of 1939 and then see the modern women of 2008. And at this point, 2008 was almost 20 years ago. I would suggest Rebecca watching that 1940s movie. It's been remade 8 million times. It's a very good movie about becoming a young housewife. And read that book. But if you don't read the book, I would say watch the 1940s version for sure, because it stuck very, very much in line with the book. It's like, I guess the director was a fan. He was just taking like page by page, it felt like to me. Anyway, yeah, so, you know, if you're part of my tiny little media club from over on Midnight Pulp, I'm going to post over in the community tab over there on Frankly Leverly about how I'm about to watch Rebecca 2020. I'm going to watch that tonight, actually, when I'm inevitably up all night long. Ooh, another one that's really good about a stay-at-home mom, Eve's Bayou. When you look at that story from the mom's perspective, it's so haunting and sad. And then you have her sister who wants children more than anything, but she has this curse on her. It's a very good surrealism kind of movie. I don't know. It was just the fact that she's at home taking care of those children, but also another good book about being a stay-at-home wife. Sassafras, Cypress, and Indigo. So it's really just about those 3 sisters. Those are 3 sisters. But it does talk a lot about their mom, who is a weaver woman. I believe she sews, she weaves clothes, she dyes fabrics. She's like all around more than a seamstress, like an atelier kind of lady. And it's about the 3 sisters and their life. One of them ends up in a situation where she is a stay-at-home person and she's making her living also with a little trade. And that, it just goes back to people who are not ignorant about how life works, about how anything can happen. They're not trying to sell you an image. So you can stay at home and want to stay at home. This isn't a war. You don't have to like choose a side. But you need to be smart about it as the viewer watching. You need to understand that this is also these videos where they're telling you how your husband should 100% provide for you and how you should be focused on getting a husband so you can be provided for. These are being made by women who are cashing a check for telling you this. It has nothing to do with not trusting your partner and everything to do with being prepared to live in this world. And having something of your own. It's nice. We are humans. It is nice to have something of your own. So those are my media recommendations on this topic. If you guys have any, let me know. Thanks for watching. I don't know what this was.
Promise. Just promise me one last thing. Don't forget me.
You got the juice now, man.
Yeah. They jump on the mic smooth as well. It's a lyrical sound to the geezer.